the unexplainable revelation message in the world. See Hebrews chapter 12 verse 11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. This verse means that those who practice righteousness will bear the fruit of peace. The phrase, discipline, refers to God's discipline. See Hebrews chapter 12 for the matter of discipline. Hebrews chapter 12 verses 5-8. And you have forgotten that word of encouragement that addresses you as sons. My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes everyone he accepts as a son. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as sons. For what son is not disciplined by his father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are illegitimate children and not true sons. Do not make light of the Lord's discipline. Make light means, do not care. Another important interpretation is that it is God's discipline when you encounter a person or thing that is unsatisfactory. But you do not know what God's good pleasure is. For if you are not doing righteousness, you are not receiving and teaching God's righteousness. God's discipline is God's use of Satan's temptations to discipline. The purpose of discipline is that he wants you to be holy in order to receive all his revelations. What does Satan use for temptation? It is to tempt you with all kinds of criticisms, judgments, arguments, and anger. So that, 1. You may repay evil with evil. 2. You may not live the life of the Lamb that was slain. Yet we who are surrounded by sin and evil do not know why we are like this. It is like when Jesus was crucified, asking God the Father to forgive them for what they did not know. See Luke chapter 23 verse 34. Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Look at the parable of Jesus. Matthew chapter 13 verses 24-30. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat, and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from? An enemy did this, he replied. The servants asked him, Do you want us to go and pull them up? No, he answered, because while you are pulling the weeds, you may root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned, then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn. The time of harvest is when the body of Christ in the world is full of the fullness of the stature of Christ, the time of his coming. All things will be brought under the feet of the Son. But the world was under Satan's control, and all things were subject to this void. See Romans chapter 8 verse 19-21. The creation waits in eager expectation for the sons of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the glorious freedom of the children of God. Therefore, do not despise the discipline of the Lord, and do not be discouraged. For if you are discouraged in the discipline of God, you will resist it. For he will discipline for the love of the Lord. If you don't obey, God will scourge you and produce criticism, judgment, argument, and anger, in addition to the scourge through the tears. The whipping will make you hurt more. You will encounter such things, and what you endure is God disciplining you. How can any son not be disciplined by his father? This is common to all the sons of God, meaning, all the sons of God are subject to this thing. We should know what things the Lord and God use to discipline the sons of God. The answer is, with all the created things in the world that are under the void, that is, people, things, and things under the void. Meaning, the people in the world are used to compete with us, to criticize, judge, argue, and get angry with us. in order to get all the things that come from the material, including money, rights, and benefits. This is the temptation of sin, and it is also the temptation of Satan that God uses to become the discipline of God and the test of the sons. If man lusts after the things of the world because of evil passions, this lust, born of evil passions, this is called the burden of sin. This is called the burden of sin, for we think that these are our hard-earned deserts. The selfish desire that arises from evil passions. The so-called selfish desire is, "This is mine," or, "I am right and you are wrong," and there is a lot of contention. This is the sin that the evil spirit in us tempts us to commit, but we think that we deserve to fight and grab, or that I am angry with you. This is actually the burden of sin. See Ephesians chapter 2 verses 2-3. In which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. All of us also lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our sinful nature and following its desires and thoughts. Like the rest, we were by nature objects of wrath. There is only one way for us to let go of this burden, and that is to do righteousness. You have to do righteousness and become worthy to do the will of God. If you don't do this, God's righteousness will not be in you, and you will not have peace. The light of revelation shines to the ends of the earth.